Picture at these. You're in the middle of a heated argument. Your voice is rising. Your hands are shaking. Your heart is slamming against your ribs. And across from you, there's someone who hasn't moved, hasn't flinched, hasn't raised their voice once. They're just watching you. And somehow, that is the most unsettling thing in the room. You've felt this. Maybe with a boss, a partner, a rival, someone whose stillness made you feel out of control, even though they weren't doing anything. Here's what nobody tells you. That calm isn't always peace. Sometimes it's power. Sometimes it's predation. And sometimes it's something much darker than either. Today, we're going inside the psychology of people who stay calm and what it actually means when someone never seems to break. Let's start with something that feels counterintuitive. In almost every social conflict, the person who loses their composure first loses, full stop. This isn't just folk wisdom. It's rooted in primate dominance behavior. High status individuals in social hierarchies don't react impulsively. They don't need to. Reactivity signals vulnerability. It signals that you can be moved, threatened, discome. By contrast, signals untouchability. It says, you don't have the power to affect me. And that's precisely why composed people are often more infuriating than aggressive ones. An aggressive person is at least engaging with you on your level. They're reacting. But someone who watches you spiral without blinking, they're not on your level at all. And they know it. This is why you'll notice that the most powerful people in any room, seasoned executives, elite negotiators, experienced therapists, share one trait. They don't rush to fill silence. They don't react to your emotion with emotion. They absorb, they observe, and they respond on their own timeline. When someone's calm makes you feel small, it's not your imagination. It's a dominant signal, and it's working exactly as intended. Here's where it gets darker. Some people stay calm, not in spite of your distress, but because of it. When you're emotional, you're readable. Every raised voice reveals your priorities. Every angry word shows what you're afraid of losing. Every trembling lip maps your pressure points. Controlled observers collect this information while you're performing. And make no mistake, an emotional outburst is a performance. It's an involuntary broadcast of everything going on inside you. Psychologists call this emotional intelligence weaponized. The calm person isn't just unaffected. They're strategically patient. They're waiting, learning, building a map of exactly how to handle you. This shows up in negotiations, in abusive relationships, in workplace politics. The calmest person in the room is often the one gathering the most intelligence, because while everyone else is reactive, they're operating like a chess player, several moves ahead, reading the board. If you've ever walked away from a conversation feeling like you said too much, like somehow you gave something away, there's a good chance you were in the room with one of these people. Your emotion was the opening. Their calm was the trap. Now, not all calm is manipulative. Some of it is trained. Surgeons, combat veterans, crisis negotiators, elite athletes. These people have developed the ability to compartmentalize, to seal off emotion during high moments so that performance is uncompromised. This is a genuine, learnable skill. And in the right hands, it's extraordinary. But here's the shadow side that rarely gets discussed. At extreme levels, compartmentalization stops being a skill and starts being a symptom. When someone can detach from any emotional context, grief, fear, guilt, love, without effort. That's not mastery. That's dissociation. And often, it's the result of an environment where showing emotion was unsafe, punished, or simply never modeled. People who grew up in volatile households or who experience prolonged trauma often develop what looks like preternatural calm. They didn't become calm because they were wise. They became calm because feeling was dangerous and stillness was survival. This kind of calm has a hollow quality to it. If you've ever been close to someone like this, you know what I mean? They're not at peace. They're at a distance. There's glass between them and the world, and they've forgotten it's there. So when we admire someone's unshakable composure, it's worth asking, where did that composure come from? Because peace and numbness can look identical from the outside. One of the most psychologically unsettling forms of calm is what I call informed calm. This is the composure of someone who already knows the outcome. The executive who's calm in the board meeting because the decision was made last night. The partner who's serene during your argument because they've already decided to leave. The negotiator who lets you talk for 20 minutes because they already know your bottom line. Informed calm is not peace. It's a tell. When someone is unaffected by information that should produce a reaction, it usually means one of two things. Either they already knew or they already don't care. Both are worth paying attention to. ULL. Notice this in legal proceedings. Lawyers who remain expressionless when damaging evidence is presented because they've already prepared for it. You'll see it in poker, in politics, in high-stakes business. Genuine surprise is almost impossible to fully suppress. So if someone isn't surprised by something surprising, they probably weren't surprised because they weren't surprised. The inverse is also true. When someone is conspicuously calm about something, you would be distressed by a threat, a deadline, a revelation. Their calm is telling you something. Learn to read it. Now let's talk about a technique that lives in a genuinely gray area. Gray rockin'. The practice of making yourself emotionally dull, unresponsive, and unreactive was originally developed as a self-protection strategy. If you're dealing with a narcissist or a manipulative person, they feed on your reactions. Remove the reaction. Remove their power. Become a gray rock. Boring, flat, unmovable, and they lose interest. It works. It genuinely works. And for people in toxic dynamics, it can be a lifeline. But like most psychological tools, it can be turned around. When someone uses emotional withdrawal, not to protect themselves but to control you when they go cold. Go flat. Become unreachable. Precisely when you need connection. That's not self-protection. That's punishment. It's called the silent treatment at its mildest and emotional stonewalling at its most damaging. The reason it's so effective as a control mechanism is this. Humans are wired for connection. We are deeply neurologically disturbed by social exclusion. Being ignored or emotionally flatlined by someone we care about activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. So when someone weaponizes their calm, when they become deliberately unreachable to make you anxious, to make you pursue, to make you apologize for things you didn't do, they're not being zen. They're applying pressure. They're hurting you with their stillness. There's one more type of calm worth understanding, and this one is genuinely admirable, even if it sounds unsettling at first. Some people are calm in crisis because they already lived the crisis in their mind. Chess grandmasters visualize 15 moves ahead. Elite military planners simulate failure scenarios in advance. Stoic philosophers practiced a discipline called negative visualization, deliberately imagining the worst outcomes, sitting with the discomfort until the fear of them diminished. The result? When the moment actually arrives, they've already been there. They've already grieved, already accepted, already decided how to respond. You're experiencing the situation for the first time. They're responding to it for the second. This is what the ancient Stoics called amor fati, love of fate. Not resignation, not indifference, but a deliberate, practiced relationship with uncertainty that produces unshakable groundedness. The person who doesn't panic when everything falls apart isn't lucky, and they're not cold. They're prepared. They've done the internal work in advance that most people only do in the aftermath. This is perhaps the rarest and most legitimate form of calm, and it's worth noting that it's available to anyone willing to do the work. So what do we do with all of this? Here's the honest summary. Calm is morally neutral. It belongs to the wise and the dangerous in equal measure. The difference is always in the source and in what the calm is doing to the people around it. Healthy.com makes people feel safe. It slows the room down. It creates space for clarity. It says, I'm here. I'm grounded. Nothing catastrophic is happening yet. Dark calm makes people feel invisible. It uses stillness as leverage. It withholds warmth as punishment. It watches you unravel for information. The tell is almost always in the effect. When you leave a conversation with a genuinely calm person, you feel steadier. When you leave a conversation with a darkly calm person, you feel smaller, unseen, overexposed, vaguely manipulated. And if you want to cultivate real calm, not the performative kind, not the dissociated kinds, start by understanding that equanimity is not the suppression of feeling. It's the integration of it. It's processing emotion fully enough that it no longer controls your behavior. The calmest people in the room aren't the ones who feel the least. They're the ones who've made peace with feeling everything. That's the difference worth chasing. If this video made you think about someone specific, a person who's calm has always made you uneasy, that discomfort is worth paying attention to. Your nervous system picks up on things your conscious mind hasn't named yet. And if you recognized some of these patterns in yourself, that's the more important discovery. Stay curious. Stay honest. And if you found this useful, you know what to do.